T-minus 20 minutes, you can see oxygen gas vapor now venting away from the strong back. This is normal at this point in the countdown. The so-called big vent represents when chill down of the liquid oxygen transfer lines running up the strong back to the right of the Falcon 9 begins. That chill down procedure thermally conditions the liquid oxygen transfer lines for the start of liquid oxygen loading into the second stage. That should be getting underway at about T-minus 16 minutes. And we've heard confirmation now from Spacex Launch Control that the RPU-1 or rocket grade kerosene fuel load has been completed on the second stage. That's the first of 4 propellant tanks that are being loaded during this countdown in parallel with the propellant that is in flight. T-minus 18 minutes and 10 seconds. Again, this mission is designated Transporter 5. It's the 5th dedicated small satellite rideshare mission that SpaceX has launched. The first one was back in January of 2021. This mission will be carrying 59 small satellites and research payloads into orbit for a variety of commercial customers, as well as NASA and the U.S. Military's Missile Defense Agency. This is a sampling of some of the satellites that are going up on this mission. On the left is a small satellite, a microsatellite from a company called Hawkeye 360 that's building out a constellation of small satellites to monitor and detect and characterize the sources of radio frequency emissions. This data is useful for things like locating radar equipment, as well as locating maritime vessels, ships at sea. Hawkeye 360's satellite, 3 of these satellites are actually on board this mission. One of them is pictured on the left. You can see one of the technicians working with the satellite for scale. On the right, on the lower right, is a satellite called PTD-3, Pathfinder Technology Demonstration 3. This is a NASA CubeSat carrying a laser communications experiment called T-Bird that will be testing the ability of small satellites to lock on to a laser telescope on Earth, and then transmitting data through that optical link at higher data rates than possible through conventional radio means. On the upper right is a view of a CubeSat being loaded with tubes, basically containing cremated remains from people who can...
Stage 2 LOX load.
We've just heard Stage 2 LOX load is beginning. The second stage of the Falcon 9 is now being loaded with liquid oxygen. A company called Celestis actually offers family members of deceased individuals to have their cremated remains flown into space, and these are 2 of the tubes containing remains of individuals that are going up on this mission. 47 individuals are being represented on this flight from 5 different countries. Another payload on this mission from NASA is the Rendezvous and Proximity Operations Experiment, the CubeSat Rendezvous Experiment. This involves 2 identical CubeSats, each about the size of a shoebox, that are launched together. And once in space, the spacecraft will separate and then perform various maneuvers around each other in orbit over the course of several months, demonstrating the ability of very small satellites to approach one another and maintain proximity operations near each other. These are activities that are customarily and typically done by larger spacecraft, but with the miniaturization of satellite technology, now feasible with small sats, and this will be demonstrated by this NASA experiment going up on today's mission. Now T-minus 15 minutes and counting. Everything looking good for launch at 2:35 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 18:35 UTC. Propellant loading progressing normally at this time. The second stage kerosene tank is full. The second stage liquid oxygen tank just started loading, and propellant's well underway during the loading process on stage 1. You can see that ice level on the first stage continuing to rise, nearing the top of the first stage at this point. T-minus 11 minutes and 15 seconds. Today's Transporter 5 rideshare mission will be targeting a polar orbit. This means the Falcon 9 rocket will be heading southeast initially from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, and then turn south on a more southerly trajectory after separation of the Falcon 9 first stage. This maneuver is known as a dogleg and allows or ensures the Falcon 9 does not fly over any populated areas, but as you can see, it'll be flying just offshore of West Palm Beach and Miami, and then heading out over the Florida Straits and over Cuba, ultimately over the Caribbean Sea and then Central America before merging over the Pacific Ocean. So this red trace shows the approximate ground track for today's mission, and the first stage will be returning to Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, hence the lack of a label for the drone ship. So there's no drone ship landing today. The booster will be returning to Landing Zone 1 about about 6 miles or 10 kilometers from the launch pad. This shows this list of major flight events shows the major milestones for today's mission. After liftoff, the Falcon 9 will be exceeding the speed of sound, again heading southeast downrange over the Atlantic Ocean about a minute after liftoff. At T plus 2 minutes and 16 seconds, the first stage engines will be shut down. Those 9 engines will cut off, allowing the first stage booster to separate from the second stage a few seconds later. And then the second stage engine will light T plus 2 minutes and 27 seconds. And moments later, the first stage will relight 3 of its engines for a so-called boost back burn. This allows the first stage to essentially reverse course, cancel out its downrange velocity, and then begin its return flight to Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. So the first stage boost back burn and the second stage burn will be occurring at about the same time in the skies over Cape Canaveral this afternoon. The first stage will continue its descent, perform an entry burn, and then finally landing of the first stage at landing zone 1 out near the tip of Cape Canaveral is scheduled for T plus 8 minutes and 33 seconds, about the same time of the cutoff of the second stage engine to insert the 59 payloads into a preliminary or parking orbit. Moments after that, the first experiment on today's mission, the Outpost Mars Demo 1 payload from NanoRacks will get underway. This tech demo is designed to demonstrate the cutting of metal in space for the first time. We talked a little bit about that at the beginning of our broadcast, but this is essentially an experiment in metalworks in space designed to demonstrate a technology that could be used in the future to manufacture components in orbit, as well as convert used upper stages into the Falcon, into habitats that are useful for experiments and other payloads in orbit. This is the target orbit for today's mission. The Falcon 9 upper stage will be reaching an orbit about 326 miles or 525 kilometers, a near circular orbit. And again, it's a polar orbit, a sun-synchronous orbit at an inclination of 97.5 degrees to the equator. This booster is booster number 1061 in SpaceX's inventory. This booster has flown 7 times before. It's making its 8th trip to space today. It debuted, as you can see in this graph, back in November 2020 with the NASA Crew 1 mission carrying 4 astronauts to the space station. It landed on a drone ship and then was refurbished for another crew launch last April. And since then, it's flown a number of commercial and NASA missions, launching the SXM-8 radio broadcasting satellite for SiriusXM, a Dragon cargo flight to the space station last August, NASA's XB X-ray astronomy mission, a Starlink internet satellite deployment flight in February, and then most recently it launched on April the 1st on SpaceX's Transporter 4 mission, a very similar flight to today's. This was the previous flight in SpaceX's small-sat rideshare program. Today's mission, the 8th flight for this booster, this mission designated Transporter 5 in SpaceX's launch manifest. Now T-minus 6 minutes and 30 seconds. About 30 seconds ago, the chill down of the Merlin first stage engines got underway. This is a process to thermally condition the Merlin power plants at the bottom of the first stage in preparation for ignition. That ignition sequence will begin at T-minus 3 seconds. In the next few minutes, the Falcon 9's guidance system will be configured for flight.
The Mars demo, the Outpost Mars demo mission is launching as a payload on the rideshare mission by SpaceX.
T-minus 6 minutes and counting. In the next few minutes, the Falcon 9's guidance system will be configured for flight. The autonomous flight termination system on the SpaceX rocket will also be confirmed ready for flight today. This is the system that would automatically destroy the rocket and terminate the flight in the event of a failure, or if it veers off course and deviates from its pre-approved flight path. Also, in about a minute's time, the strong back on the right side of the view here. This is now a different view from the ITL causeway south of the launch pad. You can still see that strong back actually in the foreground in front of the rocket in this vantage point. That'll be retracted to an angle of about 1.8 degrees from the rocket, beginning at about T-minus 4.5 minutes.
Thanks for pressing for strong back retract.
Now less than 4 minutes to go until launch of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket
Strong back retract.
on the Transporter 5 mission.
Stage 1 launch load complete.
Less than 3 minutes to go. Question?
Gas launch close out.
T-minus 60 seconds. At this point, the Falcon 9 is transitioning to internal power. And the Falcon 9's onboard computer is taking command of the countdown. The propellant tanks will be pressurized for flight in the next few moments. T-minus 40 seconds.
Go for
Valves
launch.
are now closing to pressurize those tanks. We just heard the final go from launch from SpaceX's launch director. T-minus 30.
T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 25. The ignition sequence begins at T-minus 3 seconds for the 9 Merlin 1D main engines.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8,
T-minus
7,
5,
6,
4,
5,
3,
4,
2,
3,
1.
2,
Engine ignition
1, 0.
and liftoff of SpaceX's
Ignition
Falcon 9 rocket
and
beginning the
liftoff.
Transporter 5 mission, carrying 59 small satellites and research payloads into
1D
orbit.
chamber pressure is nominal. Vehicles pitching down range. Power and telemetry nominal. Max Q. And back chill.
T plus 90 seconds. In the last few moments, we've heard confirmation that the Falcon 9 has passed and has also reached and cleared the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q. T plus 2 minutes. A few moments away from engine cutoff and staging now. That'll be a beginning of a fast-paced series of events to Core Station. And we have visual confirmation of main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
We're now switching over to SpaceX's live stream, which is on a bit of a delay,
Back ignition.
about a third in this feed. So you're looking at a view of the Falcon 9 from the Falcon 9, looking back toward Florida, and you'll see the staging event
Fairing separation confirmed.
On the right, you see the Merlin vacuum engine continuing to fire. Beautiful hues of the Atlantic Ocean in view over the Bahamas. Everything looking good 6 minutes into the flight.
Stage 2 FTS is safe. Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Vehicles now in on trajectory.
That entry burn has been completed now.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
Here you can see the entry burn as it occurred a few moments ago. 3 engines firing.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Startup terminal guidance.
Stage
8
1
minutes into the
transdown.
flight, landing is less than a minute away for the first stage. Now you're seeing
Stage
a
one,
live
confirmed.
view of that first stage coming back to Earth on its final descent toward landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Going to be passing behind the trees here. That landing burn underway. Beautiful shot of the 15-story booster coming back to Earth. We're going to switch back to SpaceX's feed now. This will show an onboard view with a little bit of delay of that
Stage
first
1
stage
landing
landing.
deploy.
And back shutdown.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Beautiful shot.
Outpost Mars Demo 1.
You just heard a double sonic boom here at
Terminal
the
orbital
Kennedy Space
insertion.
Center. Heralding the booster's return, completing its 8th flight to space. And landing confirmed. Booster number 1061 has returned to landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. This was this particular rocket's 8th flight to space. Coming back for refurbishment for another try, another mission. This was the 122nd successful landing of a Falcon booster.
Loss of signal, Cape.
So we heard confirmation now at T plus 10 minutes of the cutoff of the first stage or the second stage engine. This occurred after reaching a preliminary orbit. At this time, the NanoRex Outpost Mars demo metal cutting experiment should be underway. The data from that experiment will be recorded and downlinked to a ground station later in the flight over the coming minutes to hours for analysis by NanoRex engineers. And NanoRex officials have said they don't expect to have a clear picture and a clear understanding of the success and outcome of the experiment until perhaps late today or tomorrow.